Hi madam, I'm Gayatri from a group assignment in a subject of industrial relation and employment law. Group number 1. We choose the case of Sheikh Agil vs Malaysia Bioeconomy Development Corporation. Let me start by introducing my group members. First, me as Gayatri. Second, Nur Shaira. Third, Kavinisha. Fourth, Sharmila. And lastly, Che Azubianti. So today I'm going to present the summary of the case. First, Sheikh Akil served the company for 14 years as Vice President of Corporate and Finance, earning Rm 39,600 per month. His long service and high-ranking position show that he was a key contributor to the company's success. His employment was terminated in September 2020 when his fixed-term contract was allowed to lapse. Although the company argued that the contract ended naturally, the long during of his service raised doubts about whether his employment was truly fixed term. Second, the High Court ruled in January 2025 that Sheikh Akil's employment was permanent and that his dismissal was without just cause or excuse, overturning the earlier industrial court decision. The court decided that after so many years of continuous service, his position was effectively permanent, regardless how the contract was written. Third, the industrial court awarded Sheikh Akil compensation totaling Rm 1,314,720 ringgit. This included Rm 554,400 ringgit as compensation in lieu of reinstallment and Rm 760,320 ringgit as back wages after deducting plus statutory EPF contribution. This amount reflects that court effort to fairly compensate him for the loss of income and benefits resulting from the unfair dismissal. Finally, the case highlights the judiciary's role in protecting employees against unfair dismissal and reinforce important principle of fairness and just cause in Malaysia employment law. It reminds employer that they must treat employee fairly and follow proper procedures to avoid similar legal consequences.
Hi everyone, my name is Shaina, daughter of Muthusamy. My metric number 42410000411. According to these issues and facts, first the nature of employment was consistent. Although the company claimed Shahid Akil was on a fixed term contract, the court found that after 14 years of continuous renewals, he was effectively a permanent employee. This shows that repeated fixed-term contract without valid reason may be treated as permanent employment under Malaysian labour law. Secondly, the legality of the dismissal was challenging. The company argued that the contract simply expired. However, the High Court ruled that the dismissal was unfair because no proper process, inquiry, or just cause was given. were no performance or disciplinary problems, and the dismissal violated principle of natural justice. Lastly, the case addressed post-dismissal compensation. Shahid Akil was unemployed for the 6 months before the securing a new job at a slightly lower salary. The court awarded him Rm 1.31 million in compensations after deducting 20% to account for his new earnings. This balanced approach recognized both the financial loss and the emotional and reputational harm caused by the wrongful dismissal. This case sets a precedent emphasizing the protection of the long-serving employees from unfair dismissal and highlights the court's commitment to the fairness and equity in employment relations. According to the act related of this case is the Industrial Relation Act 1967, which governs employment disputes in Malaysia, especially unfair dismissal under section 23. An employee who believes they were unfairly dismissed can file a complaint with the Director General of the Industrial Relations. Shahid Akil used this provision to challenge the non-renewal of his contract after 14 years, claiming constructive dismissal. The Industrial Court's jurisdiction under Section 35 allows it to make decisions based on the fairness and the merits of the case rather than strict legal technicalities. This gave the court flexibility to award a just remedy for compensations. Section 36A and the second schedule limit back wages to a maximum of 20 months and require reduction of any earnings the employee made after dismissal. In Shahid Akil's case, the court deducted 20% from his back wages due to his subsequent employment. The court also considered non-fictional damage such as emotional distress and reputational harm following judicial precedents like Nyang Shi Wan and Dr. James Alfred. While the Employment Act 1955 was not directly applicable because Shahid Akil was an executive, its principle underlined the broader framework of fair employment practice. In conclusion, this case exemplifies how the Industrial Relations Act 1967 protects employees from unfair dismissal while ensuring employers act lawfully and fairly, thus maintaining industrial harmony in Malaysia. Next, moving to the another person.
Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Nushaira Shabana binti Jamaldin. Today I will explain prongs of the case. Firstly, the High Court intervention underscored the judiciary role in ensuring justice beyond procedural technicalities. These protect employees from unfair dismissal. Secondly, the ruling affirmed that long-term employment cannot be masked by fixed-term contract to deny workers their rights. Thirdly, it set a precedent against misuse of rolling contracts promoting transparency and fairness in employment practices. Cons of the case is, however, the case also poses challenges. The large compensation awarded places a heavy financial burden on employers, particularly smaller businesses. Additionally, employer may become hesitant to offer fixed-term contracts, which could reduce job flexibility and opportunities. The lengthy legal process, spanning almost 5 years, caused stress and uncertainty for both employees and employers. Finally, the case highlights the need for better training of HR and management to prevent such disputes. Application of this case is reinforces the importance of fair and transparent employment practices, encouraging employees to align their policies with both legal requirement and ethical standard. It demonstrates the Malaysian legal system's commitment to balance the rights of employees with operational needs of employers. The prolonged duration of this case signals the need to reform to expedite dispute resolution, ensuring justice is delivered more swiftly and efficiently. Moreover, it encourages business to adopt proactive human resources management practices that emphasize complaints and respect for employee rights. Ultimately, the case serves as a reminder that industry relations must be dynamic and balanced, protecting workers while allowing business the flexibility to thrive. In conclusion, while the case strengthens employee protection and judicial fairness, it is also reveals financial and procedural challenges for employer. It calls for balanced industrial relation practices that uphold justice while supporting business flexibility and efficiency.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Kavinisha here. Today, I would like to talk about a case that offers a valuable lesson in employment practices, the dispute between Sheikh Agil bin Sheikh Hazim and Malaysian Bioeconomic Development Corporation Sdn Berhad. This case highlights the critical importance of following proper procedures in managing employment relationships. It reminds us that failure to comply with legal requirements doesn't just risk lawsuit, it can damage an organization's reputation and finance too. So, what can employers do to avoid such situations in the future? Let me share a few key solutions that organizations should adopt. First, we must ensure employment contracts and HR policies are clear and transparent. The terms of employment, whether fixed term or permanent, need to be properly defined as justified. For example, if a job is project based and time limited, that should be clearly stated. Renewing a fixed term contract or too often without proper reason may lead the courts to view it as permanent employment. To avoid such confusion, employers must limit contract renewals and ensure proper documentation is in place to justify employment terms. Second, organizations should conduct regular HR and legal audits. This should happen at least once a year to ensure compliance with Malaysia's Employment Act 1955 and Industrial Relations Act 1967. Every termination, renewal, and disciplinary action must be renewed carefully. Was enough notice given? Was the decision fair and legally justified? By identifying issues yearly, these audits can be prevent major disputes later on. Next, let's talk about performance reviews. Many dismissal cases stem from disagreements about employee performance. A structured and fair evaluation system is essential. Reviews should be based on measurable key performance indicators and documented properly. Employees should be aware of what's expected and be allowed to respond to their evaluations. This builds trust and ensures transparency. Another important point is having a formal internal grievance system. Employees should be able to raise concern internally before turning to external bodies like the industrial court, whether through a complaint platform, mediation, or discussion. Yearly conflict resolution allow both sides to find fair solutions and may even preserve the working relationship. Lastly, we cannot ignore training for managers and HR personnel. Many disputes arise simply from lack of knowledge about labor laws. Regular workshops on employee rights, disciplinary procedures, contract management, and legal termination are essential. Training can also include real-life case studies so managers can learn from past court decisions and avoid repeating the same mistakes. In conclusion, reducing labor disputes requires a combination of clear policies, legal oversight, fair performance systems, yearly conflict resolution, and continuous staff training. Together, these strategies create a healthier work environment, protect both employee and employee rights, and promote a reputation of fairness and professionalism. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum, my name is Cik Azwa Azmi and I will present about the benefit of this solution. The first solution is first, this measure reduce labor debate and industrial action. When employment contracts are clear, performance evaluation are fair, and injustice mechanisms are in place, misunderstanding and conflicts will be minimized. This proactive approach prevents costly and disruptive legal battles or strike, allowing the organization to maintain a smooth operation and focus on growth. And the second benefit is compliance protects the rights of both employees and employer. By sticking the labor laws and re- regulations, companies ensure fair treatment regarding wages, working hours, and safety and termination procedure. This legal protection fosters trust and respect between parties, which is both parties, safeguarding employees from unfair practice while giving employers a clear framework to manage workforce issue responsibly. And the third benefit is this measure help avoid reputational damage and costly legal consequences. Non-compliance can lead to fines, lawsuits, and negative publicity that could harm the companies standing in the industry and community. Conversely, organizations that demonstrate a commitment to lawful and ethical employment practice build a positive reputation, attractive top talents, investor, and customer who value integrity. Final benefits, or it will be last benefits, is such compliance promote an ethical and compliant workplace culture. When employees feel valued, protected, and treated fairly, morale and productivity increase. A culture of fairness and accountability encourage loyalty and reduce turnover, and it will create a stable and motivated workforce. This ethical foundation support long-term success and in a competitive business environment. In summary, adopting this measure not only mitigates legal and financial risks, but also strengthen industrial relations and enhance organizational reputation. It is a strategic investment in building a fair, a safe, and sustainable workplace for all. And that's it from us. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you have a good time.